What's up, guys? So, today I want to talk about a trend that I've been noticing lately, and I want to know if it's just me or if this is something real going on. So, let's discuss. Lately, I've been noticing that being a sexual degenerate, being a thirsty ass motherfucker, not only has it become accepted, but it's become trendy. It's become even cool almost. And I want to dig into how we got here, and why this is happening. So I think this all started with the whole sexual liberation movement that's been going on over the past 10, 20, 30 years, where as a society we're trying to move past the relationship between sex and shame. Okay, and this is going through all kinds of movements. This is for liberation of women, okay, and with the LGBTQ movement. These two spheres specifically have been at the forefront of the sexual liberation movement. But there's been some interesting things going on here. It's not just the acceptance of it's okay to be gay. It's okay to all these other things, right? No, no, no. There's two sides. There's also the freak show. It's okay to be a freak and not feel bad about it. Now, look, you can be whoever the fuck you want to be, okay? But forcing or this propaganda push to not only be accepted but to be praised, this is where the psyops, the counterintelligence, the how they're trying to kill us from within is going on. I'll give you an example where I'm noticing these things. Okay. The TV show came out this year, 2024, last year. Arcane. It was the worst best thing that came out last year. And in this show, okay, we have these two lesbian girls, Vi and Kate, and the internet went wild. They loved it. But they loved it a little too much. It was they people got really, 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 really excited about seeing like just two hot lesbians, just animated characters making out, having sex on screen, all of it. And that's fine, everything that fine in some sense. It's that part of the internet of culture has always existed, but it's always been a small corner that the rest of us would always make fun of. Like, oh, okay, those thirsty ass people. Yeah, yeah, I like that too, but there's more to it. But it's getting to the point where art, like people are going out of their way and openly telling everybody that, oh yeah, this new movie, yeah, I'm just gonna watch it because there's this hot actress or hot actor. And the whole reason I brought up the whole sexual liberation movement is because that's connected. The first time I started noticing these people who would just be openly thirsty as if it was cool was for my gay friends. Like I would talk about, oh, this movie so freaking good. Donnie Darko, I love Donnie Darko. Instant responses. Oh my gosh, Jake Gyllenhaal's so hot. Now, it's a double standard there. Imagine how would I be perceived as a straight man if we're talking about, oh, the Wolf of Wall Street, and of course, first thing comes to mind, right? And then my instant response. I don't talk about the storyline or how fun it is and blah blah blah. It's, oh my gosh, Margot Robbie's so hot in that. I don't know about you, but anybody above the age of like 15 years old would just, if that's the only substance, you just get made fun of. But now this is being openly pushed into the culture. I got a note here for what else did I want to talk about. So, the first part was the sexual liberation movement. But what's interesting is that the sexual liberation movement, liberation, liberals, it came from the left. But over the past 10, 15 years with DEI, politics, we were actually pushing against selling sex. trying not to push a unrealistic body image, right? Okay, so we started casting actresses, designing characters in video games and in cartoons that were more realistic looking. And people got sick of it. People were starting to get sick of it because people were starting to notice the diversity quotas and all of this. And I don't have to dig into that. I'm not one of those channels, but you know the controversy, okay? So what happened is all of a sudden openly accepting these hot characters, it that was no longer in a bubble being a thirst demon, being a sexual degen. No. Now there's a new identity associated with it, that you are anti-woke and you don't stand for that liberal bullshit. Now that is what that has become. So now you have these young kids out there, okay? And I'll give you an example from the video game culture going on right now. Last year, a video game came out called Concord. Concord was a shooter game like Overwatch. And in that game, the characters weren't... they didn't look very appealing, most of them. Okay? And a big contrast from Overwatch, where all of the characters look cool. Some of them look sexy. You know, a big part of that game was the Rule 34 section of the internet, right? But honestly, it wasn't too bad. It was like, yeah, some of these characters were hot, but in my opinion, at least, my humble opinion, it wasn't ever ultimately unrealistic. Especially, it's a fantasy game. Pretty much, okay? You got characters like Winston, it's fantasy. Fantasy, sci-fi, whatever. The whole point is, that was a big thing, and people were celebrating the downfall of Concord. Now you got Marvel Rivals coming along, okay? And the characters in there are super freaking hot. Super hot. All of them. The men, the women, like, they went ham. And it's no surprise these are Eastern developers. So there's a celebration like, yes, this is what we want. So we've gone from sex sells, and it's not the greatest thing that we're pushing this unrealistic image. And people were okay with that. They're like, okay. But it got pushed and pushed and pushed so much against us that it was affecting the things that we enjoy. Right? And now people got sick of it, and then it became... So if there was a really, really hot character, they really, really enjoyed it. And what's happening here is that now we've come full circle. Sex sells has become more powerful than it's ever become before. And this is the whole point of the video. The rise of the Gooners, okay? It has become cool as hell to be a Gooner. And it's sad. It's... There's the Psyops. It's the Psyops because what do they want? What does the deep state want? What is the people that want you to be enslaved for the rest of your life want? To be a slave to your desires, to your impulses, a slave to lust. Okay? So now kids, when I was younger, I'm not that old, but back when I was in high school, it was a thing, okay, amongst us geeks, us boys, us nerds, yeah, every once in a while we talk about the porn stars we liked or whatever and blah, blah, blah. But it was never such a, like, anime. We all loved anime. We wouldn't obsess over how hot, and, like, not just obsess, because that's one thing, but in the culture, it's become a celebration of being super freaking hot. Okay, and that's my problem. You know, and what's spurring this video is Riot Games, they released a trailer for the new season, and they showed Katarina. And in the first reply, and it had the most upvotes, the most likes, the most buzz on Twitter, was about like, oh, is Katarina gonna be like a lesbian? And it was a very like there's nothing wrong with that, but you could tell there was a Gooner fueled energy of it. They wanted to see some essentially like lesbian porn of Katarina. Okay? So where do we go from here? Well, we have to guide the young generation and we have to figure out what does it mean? What is shame? Okay? Because sexual liberation is great, but being in La La Land is not great. Okay? And what I mean by that is you don't have to feel ashamed for what you like, but that doesn't mean that your actions, okay, what you say is divorced from consequences. Everyone's running around here like acting, using this pseudo Eastern philosophy, like, oh, I can separate the action from my reaction to the action, how I feel about it. But what people don't realize is, okay, the Buddha, when you're in a state of enlightenment, you're not going to do these certain actions in the first place. So, and that's what people don't get. And now it's gotten to the point where kids think it's cool to be a gooner. Okay? When really we should be calling them bloody wankers and making fun of them. Truly, that's what I think. And I know there's more to that. Okay, we're making fun of them is not going to solve anything, but it's a step towards back to reality. Because, like I say, it's not just kids. It's bled into the culture, and it's so strange. Like I've noticed people that I thought I respected, and I still do. Now they start bringing up how hot the characters are, and just like they give it a little bit too much time. Something where in the past, and this isn't just a matter of preference, guys, because I remember things. Okay, I don't. Some people, they just forget things, but I remember the past. Okay, and things like how hot, for example, video game Hades. Okay. In Hades 1, yeah, the characters are all attractive. And that was just, people might have mentioned it in a podcast, but it was just a passing thought. But now, people will give a good 2 to 3 minutes to celebrate how the characters in Hades 2 are even hotter. Okay? And before, and this is why it's a reaction to the reaction. Okay? So before in video games and before movies, everybody was hot and we just didn't think about it. But when we started taking that away for maybe not the most artistic reasons, there was ulterior motives, politics, then people started celebrating when they gave it back to us. So I want to move on for this but connect that last thought with the Psyops. Do you see how that works? How someone can take something from you that was already yours, a right, okay? And then just so when they give it back to you, oh, now you're so grateful. You're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You guys are doing me such a big favor. When it was already yours to begin with, okay? So watch out, guys, and don't get sucked into this, because you start thinking, oh my gosh, it's so cool to be a degen, right? Everyone else is. I can just be one too, and before you know it, lust has invaded your life like a motherfucker. And what happens? Porn addiction, degeneracy. It's a slippery slope. All these other bad habits become cool. Thanks for watching, guys.